for a very special edition of the Black Rabbit Society, a Call of Cthulhu actual play presented by Table Quests. A word of warning before we go any further: this evening's entertainment is a horror story and features adults who might use adult language and discuss adult themes. You've been warned. This is a special because my day has been chaotic and I just got power back recently and I might lose it again. So if I disappear at any point, merely know that it is powers beyond our ken who are whisking me away to a land of secrets, mysteries, and darkness. That's just kind of how it works sometimes. We have the wonderful Joel, who plays Professor Horace, who you may have already noticed on our stream. He runs fantastic Ravenloft campaigns as a professional dungeon master. You can find him at StartPlaying.Games/GM/leonidas-games. Our character artwork is provided by the wonderful Peter Edgar, who you can find on Patreon.com at /TheDungeonSketcher. And did you know that I have like a Kickstarter going on right now? I'm not running it, but I'm a stretch goal. If you want to go into like a Spelljammer-esque version of Dungeons & Dragons, where you have a magical spaceship to travel between the floating corpses of long-deceased gods. You can find that at Graveyard of the Gods on Kickstarter right now.
That's badass, Tyler. I'm in.
I am a stretch goal where you can help or hinder goblins who are trying to turn their dead god into a cross between a giant moving city and a mecha that will eat other dead gods. So there's some cool stuff going on in that setting.
That's awesome.
Our special event today, as a result, is some catching up, some going over for this first section in character in the car ride over to the Von Cartwright Manor, discussing what's happened thus far, going over it. So if you or your friends or someone has been like really interested in figuring out what's going on, getting caught up, this is the week to check it out. So you can go tell people. You can also subscribe. We're coming up on a pretty big finale to this arc, dealing with the Von Cartwrights next week and the week after probably. So you could hit the subscribe. You can check us out next week, same time. Also on Wednesdays, we have the Doors and Deities, same place at 8:30 Atlantic time, 7:30 Eastern time. I was doing it in my own time at one of the things there. You can turn there for their further mysteries and dealing with, I think they're fighting like a god-killing sword now that has googly eyes. That's what I got from the shorts. With no further ado, we have Drew playing Horace Charles Young.
Good afternoon.
Ben playing Thomas Tommy Cole.
I recently broke a rib.
Joel playing Professor Herbert Francis Devenalt.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Kendra playing Olive.
How's it going?
And I am gonna fade into the background, answering questions as needed. But I'm gonna hand things over to our own Kyle playing Dr. Raymond Fox.
Now, folks, as we're headed to Von Cartwright's, he just wants us to call him Cartwright, to Cartwright's house. I need us to go over really what the hell's been going on the last couple of days, just so that I can get it all straight in my head, because I have to write this up later. Let's start at the beginning. We all woke up in, well, the same hospital room with a couple of John Does that we later learned something about, and with gaps in our memories. And I still have that gap in mind. Was that just 3 days ago that was? What the hell day is it?
I believe you're correct. I think it has only been 3 days, maybe even a little bit less if you want to go hour by hour.
All right. So we deal with the doctors who were holding us under quarantine for a while at the request of Detective McGowan, who all of you have a history with. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a real, likes to get on my case, that McGowan.
Probably from all the crimes, is why.
Hey, I don't commit crimes. What kind of girl do you take me for? I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Well, he is a detective, so getting on people's cases is kind of his whole job.
All right. So we deal with him somehow. We managed to convince him to let us go, and we make it out of the hospital. And then...
But prior to that, it seems as though you're forgetting our John Doe.
Oh, yes.
Remember,
Magellan.
Yes, Magellan.
Indeed. It
Mr.
seems our memories of him diverge. Depending on when and who you were to ask, yes?
I would
And-
swear.
When you were to ask whom, in fact.
You, precisely, Professor.
To...
You and I were once of the same opinion that he went to the roof, and after a difficult conversation threw himself off of it. But you have since recanted that belief.
Yes, quite.
I, however, have not. I saw him jump off of that roof. But
After encountering him back in the room, your perception was altered.
Yes, although it's as though he both did and didn't leap to his death. I clearly remember watching the man. I clearly remember kneeling over his still lifeless form on the grass at the base of that building. But I'm sure he did not. I'm certain of it.
which does bring us to, well, I suppose the second strangeness of the last few days. The first being the holes in our memories upon waking up. The second being the disagreement about whether or not we saw something, and whether or not that stayed true. So yes, Magellan died somehow.
Yes.
And Tommy, how are you doing back there? You feeling all right?
I'm on a lot of drugs.
Yeah, good.
I think I might pass out in a minute.
All right.
I feel like there was some parasites in Magellan. He definitely fell because he left some worms at the bottom. We saw those worms later.
Tommy,
Worms.
try and focus now. Were they the same worms as we saw later?
The one that bit Olive, yeah.
All right.
The white ones.
Wait.
Wait,
does
this
this
one. I pull out the jar.
Oh no, Tommy!
Tommy,
Oh, God.
Olive, would you take that from him, please?
No! I'm not going anywhere near that thing!
Look, it looks like this.
Gosh. Listen, does this mean if we eat enough worms, we can't die?
No. If I remember correctly, Cairo died twice.
Oh.
So if anything, you are more likely to die.
Okay, Tommy, you hold on to that worm then.
Gee, what a pleasure.
And you're certain that you saw those at the hospital?
You guys were talking about some kind of following thing. I think this is it. It's everywhere. It was in the Crow. It was in Magellan. It was trying to get into Olive.
Right.
This thing's important.
The pilot fish.
Yes. Find, seek, follow the pilot fish?
Look for the pilot fish. Yes, that was what Cairo's note said.
What do fish eat when you need to catch them?
What?
Bait?
What?
And bait could be
Born?
worms, guys, worms.
Oh, I don't think fish would eat those worms.
I
But
would.
we know a bird ate at least one of them.
I suppose that's true. But then we saw one of them trying to eat Olive. I'm not sure what's the
Or
predator and
was
what's
it
the prey at
trying
this
to
point.
pilot her?
Can we stop talking about worms eating me? That was a very traumatic situation, and I feel like you guys keep bringing it up while
Well-
I'm, still processing this.
Olive, we'll table that for a moment.
Thank you.
We've got some
Okay.
some ways to go, I think.
Circle
I believe
back.
that
yeah.
is a separate arm of the discussion.
Oh.
I'll leave
That's an
this jar
offhand
over
comment.
here. It can just be the worm in the room.
But yes,
Just put it in the trunk as it bounces freely.
you're
No,
correct.
I'm not gonna
Raymond.
let it rattle.
So in addition to seeing some of those worms where Magellan's body wasn't, you also managed to get a hold of some notes from a doctor's office that you broke into. Isn't that right, Tommy? With commentary on something about a parasite and contact of on sea? We didn't know who that was until we saw the advertisement later on. And then you stole the notes, and then Tommy, you and Olive got in a fight with a couple of orderlies and got your first taste of this week of the good drugs. Woke up, talked to Detective McCowan, right? I bet we could convince them to give us some more. Talked to Detective McGowan, got out. We went to the police station to pick up Professor your gun and my flare gun and a couple other things. Tommy, your knife.
My knife.
Yeah. Which was totally ordinary, completely as you were expecting it, right?
Oh, did I lie about that? My knife was covered in blood when I got it back from the police. Sorry for not sharing that with the group. It was a bit of an alarming thing at the time.
Naturally. For my own
Now
understanding.
it seems pretty minor.
Yeah, at this point with the, well, context. Is that how you expected to find it, or is that new?
Not after a good night.
Okay, alright.
It certainly fits with what we know about his activities now, though.
Yes.
At least
Yes.
what he, I, and Olive know.
Upon collecting our belongings, we gathered some newspapers and sat down in a cafe to go over them and see if there were any relevant articles written about our wayward behavior in our lost time. We didn't really find anything that referred directly to us, but we did find an advertisement. Something like, "Have you seen the Black Rabbit? Contact," and then contact information with for one Von Cartwright. We, after a while, kind of disagreed about whether to call him, whether to not. We eventually did, and he invited us to dinner at his house, which we decided was very much not the way to go. So instead, we invited him to dinner at a private dining room in the hotel that I'm staying at.
Yes.
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 After we arranged that, we headed over to Central Park because the police had told us and the doctors had told us that that's where we were found, behaving erratically, and hoping to find some information around, well,
Yes. So we're into the second day now.
yes.
If you recall, we'd all gone home that night, and we agreed to meet at the precinct. We gathered our things, and then off we went to the park, as you suggested. Yes. So that's day two. That's day two.
Right, day 2. Excellent, yes, day 2. So, Central Park being near to the police station, we wandered over, walked around for a while, didn't really notice anything of interest, did we? We went to the water and looked for shell casings, for you had allegedly been firing your gun, Professor, which seems out of character.
So
for
they
you.
claimed, which I was not willing to accept as accurate. Yes.
And really, did we just completely strike out at Central Park?
The birds, Raymond.
The birds.
Birds.
Oh, they were watching us, weren't? Yes, that's right.
Yes.
They were all just watching us.
All of them.
Yes, strange thing number something. The birds.
And then we sort of shoot them, and they left.
Yes,
Very
they
abruptly.
scattered. And then we delayed enough. We talked to the cops, wandered around Central Park for a while. It was time for us to resolve once and for all whether, well, the Black Rabbit was, the cabaret was still there. Based on some of the things that people had told us, we were expecting potentially a burned out husk of a building, or a totally fine space, or
Plot twist. It doesn't exist.
nothing at all is what we found. We found undeveloped land and an inconsistent numbering order, such that there was more missing than space would have allowed. Which is strange thing number 4. We lost some space, in addition to losing the building itself.
Yes, whole blocks were missing, weren't they?
And people.
Yes, people in space were missing.
Is
Yes.
anything missing at the hospital? Do we...
Was anything missing at the hospital?
Would have been hard to know for sure.
know the place well enough.
I'm sorry, what was that, Tommy? I think you may be fading off into your sleep with all of the opioids we've pumped you full of. I couldn't hear you.
I just said we probably didn't know it well enough to notice.
Yes, I think that's fair to say.
Well, after getting to the Black Rabbit and, well, kind of dealing with that all in our own individual ways, I talked to some lovely NYC students who were setting up some photography equipment, and I got to talk to them a little bit about their setup and that sort of thing. I'm a hobbyist, as you know.
Time and place.
Yes. We split up briefly because Professor, you and Olive went to go check on Professor, your neighbor's niece.
Yes, Mary Williams, yes. We went to speak with Edna, her aunt, who lives below me in our shared home. And do you remember, Olive, when we arrived, neither of them was there, but you had the opportunity to meet my granddaughter, Dolores.
Oh yeah, she was real nice or something.
Yes, she is. She's quite a sweetheart. But somehow she had discovered that Mary was missing and was helping poor Mrs. Williams to try to locate her niece, Mary. And that is still concerning to me that she's at all involved in all of this. But I didn't know at the time what I know now, so we left them to it.
Yes.
And
You were surprised to see her there because she doesn't live with you. She was visiting. Yes.
yes, she lives farther down on Manhattan Island. She's trying to, make her way into the theater, and so she lives down where all of that hullabaloo happens. I hadn't seen her in months, in fact. I was quite surprised to see her. But nonetheless, again, I was unaware that things were as dire as they have seemingly become, and we left them to it, and after collecting the firearms that I
Oh
was
yes, you picked up a
concerned
veritable armory from your
Well,
house.
come now. I grabbed a hunting rifle and the shotgun I used to use for hunting goose and duck during the fall. They weren't doing us any good collecting dust on my mantle, and with everything that had been going on and the potential for who knows who this von Cartwright was, I just felt it might be useful to have them.
And you may be proven right soon. Soon enough, Professor.
I pray you're
While
wrong.
you and Olive were doing that, Tommy and I went to the telegram office to deal with a torn half of a telegram that I found in my pocket on waking up in the hospital. That, well, when I called them to get the whole message, there was something strange about it. The telegram had apparently been sent 2 weeks from now in the future. And that caused a big confusion at the telegram office. So we had to go in and show ID and sign. They had us sign a ridiculous paper. There's no way that could have been binding. That any of the information contained within, if we take actions based on it, we can't hold the telegram office liable. But regardless, the telegrams turned out to be sent in 2 weeks from now by an ex-girlfriend of mine who knew nothing of them when I had called her. But we'll get to that yet.
I guess she hadn't sent them yet.
I suppose not. I suppose I need to call her in 2 weeks and ask her what it's all about. And while we were doing that, Horace, did you went and visited a patient of yours? Is that right?
A client of mine, yes, whom unfortunately I don't know if any of you still remember, as he has since, I can only assume, been folded. He was telling me when last I spoke to him about a man that was talking to him and telling him strange things, whom I can now only assume to be Edmund von Cartwright. And in the recent, well, we'll get to that, things that were going on, I believe he may no longer be with us. But yes, we spoke about what was going on with him. He seems distracted, vacant in the way that I have seen those traumatized by experiences oftentimes in war, unable to come to himself fully. And then he showed me a drawing, one that was quite disturbing, formed mostly of the words, "It had to be you," the constant refrain of our...
Yes, I had forgotten. The telephone
We heard
call.
that song, didn't we?
Indeed, from, I believe, Edmund. I must now assume.
You think
Wasn't
that
there somebody
In the
who
phantom
also
call
called?
that he made to me.
Yeah, there was somebody else who called after him, and when we tried to call back, it was like it never existed.
Right,
Yes.
that is to whom I refer. I believe that was Edmund.
Yes, while we were still in the hospital, we received a phone call that had several disturbing things to say, directed to you, Horace. And then when we tried to learn something from the switchboard operator, they had no knowledge of connecting a call to us previously. And again, it had to be you featured, both the lyrics to the song and just the sentiment featured largely in that call, and it's been a recurring theme throughout.
Wasn't it written down on a note that you received?
Yes, when Magellan disappeared, I was reading my file that Tommy was so kind as to retrieve from the doctor's office for us at the hospital, and an orderly mentioned that a paper had fallen out of it, but very clearly it had not, and there was more there was more of that writing on there, and more information about that.
Yes, I remember now. So much has happened in such a short time.
At that point, it begins to... We agree to, before we part ways, we agree to reconvene at my hotel ahead of the dinner with Cartwright. At which point, I think Tommy and all of you collect a baseball bat for everyone. I've got this coat check tag in my pocket for a baseball bat. Is that's when that was, right?
Better to have it and not need it.
Yeah.
I suppose so. And Professor, at that point, you received a concerning call because your granddaughter had found...
Yes, Dolores. Well, yeah, I suppose I didn't even take time to explain to you all what had happened. I had to leave at that quickly, right at that moment. She had located young Mary Williams at a theater in the downtown area. She was apparently creating quite a ruckus. Dolores was quite worried about her, and of course, knowing what we knew at that point, I was not comfortable with her, with my granddaughter going in to try to remedy the situation on her own, so I had to take a taxi to go and assist while you all met with this Von Cartwright person, and I do apologize for not being there for that, but, well, things became... We found the girl. She hadn't changed. She was wearing the same sort of costume, I suppose you would call it. Ceremonial robe, almost. It was spattered in large amounts of old blood. She had locked herself in one of the upper viewing booths at this play of some sort. I don't even know what show was being presented, but the police were there, guns at the ready and billy clubs prepared, and somehow I convinced them to let me go in and try to calm the girl down and to take her home. And she was not well. She was deeply disturbed. The things that she saw that night, she had not forgotten. She was... Well, I regret that however it is that each of us escaped, we did not manage to bring her out with us. Because her mind and spirit had clearly been broken that night. And she mentioned someone watching her and following her, and that it wasn't safe to be near or to use doorways. And so I had closed the door behind me for her to be more comfortable, but I talked her off the ledge, so to speak, and we agreed to leave, and... Raymond, I was holding her hand in mine as we walked through the door of that booth back into the hallway. And I felt her fade away as she stepped through.
Fade away?
She just... like mist in the wind, she was gone. And Dolores saw it happen as well. But this is the strangest part. The police acted as though nothing strange had happened at all, almost as though they didn't even remember that Mary had been in that room. I still don't know what to make of it.
Can
All
we
I-
recap again? Can we recap again why we don't think that would happen to us?
That relates.
Yes, I think we'll get to why we think we're not in danger of
Yes.
disappearing upon passing through a door.
I was very concerned about it.
Yeah,
He was.
I was
Try to
very
not
concerned about it.
Let any of us go through doors for a really long time there, and
I mean, it couldn't have been more than 30 minutes, if I'm being honest with you.
yeah, but for some reason during those 30 minutes I had to go through a lot of doors, so you know.
You did attempt to go through many doors, yes?
I did.
a few doors are
did.
closed to you, Olive.
Yeah, well, when I see a closed door, I just gotta open it. I'm like a cat.
Do cats open closed doors? Is that something they're known for? I'm more of a dog person.
I don't know. You tell me. Are you known for opening doors? I cannot speak to cats, so. Who's to
When
say?
did we get a cat?
We'll get there.
We'll get it there.
Right. In any event, I spent the rest of that evening insisting that my little Lori pack her bags and leave the city, and I got her on the earliest train that I could to a friend of hers north of here. And then I came back to meet all of you, and I have no idea what happened that night while I was gone, so please do fill me in, because I still haven't gotten a good under... the only explanation I have is that you all apparently drank some horrible alcoholic concoction and saw things.
Yes. We, upon agreeing on some signals as to how to communicate with each other, that perhaps we were sharing too much with Cartwright, that we didn't necessarily trust at that point, and I suppose perhaps still not, but we don't have many options. We settled in for dinner. And Von Cartwright, I believe it's Ernst is Cartwright Sr. Edmund is his son.
Correct.
Ernst von Cartwright had been, well, turned on to the instances of the things that we experienced at the cabaret when his son disappeared in what he has taken to calling folds. And ever since, he's been keeping feelers out, doing research on what could possibly cause them, or really just try and draw any information from when they happen.
Did he tell us how he knew about the Black Rabbit, if everyone forgot?
We did ask him why the Black Rabbit was on his radar, and he told us that he has a device like a radio, but special. It responds to and his words, I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, the promulgation of effects of a fold. Which I don't actually know what that's supposed to mean. But he additionally has constructed a library in his home, where we're headed now, that is apparently shielded from the ripple effects of a fold. He found that newspaper stories would be different after a fold, which actually connects well to us not being able to find any newspaper articles about such events the morning after. And there's a common pattern amongst survivors of fold events, and it is they simply forget the event happened. It just fades away from their memory. The people that don't forget, according to him, either go stark raving mad or disappear. Professor,
Mary.
she didn't forget.
And she had gone quite mad before she disappeared.
I'm gonna side-eye Horace at that comment.
He did have something to offer us. We were fairly stingy with our information sharing with him, He did tell us around the details of the disappearance of his son, Edmund. He and some other students at NYC, once again, or NYU, were working through some old textbook, which was part high-concept mathematical textbook, part vignette compilation, and his disappearance was linked directly to the timing of the staging of one of those vignettes.
Whose disappearance? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Edmund's, Ernst von Cartwright's son.
Oh, his son.
Whom we apparently have had near misses with, historically.
Several times.
Some of us seem to have met him and known him much better than others.
Apparently so.
Horace is doing the hand in the wind thing.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Don't leave the window open, the cat could get out.
Are you sure we gave him the correct dosage?
Wait, Horace, have you been drinking Tommy's medicine? That's his medicine. He needs that. He's hurt very badly.
I really need it. It's really good for me.
We learned
Anyway,
a little bit about the disappearance of Edmund, and Ernst von Cartwright offered us a tool, a boon, that was this liquid, this alcohol that would apparently restore the memories lost to a
Thoroughly, yeah. At this point, Professor Devenild's main confusion is he didn't realize that Olive has an old man, that she's married. Like, what's going on?
Isn't that father? She's got a father.
yeah.
I think we cut off
We are back, by the way.
Yeah, just as I was saying that, we cut off. So just to clarify, I trapped an old man in the bathroom to get some information, just to catch everyone up if you missed it.
Right after we said that, we hit a pothole, and everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't understand. Who is this old man, and why does he know anything about the Cartwright family?
Because, get this, he works for them. How, you may ask? Let me inquire my memories. Because that is a great question. He is there. There's three guys.
Does he
butler?
puzzle
He's
for
the
them?
butler. Yep. He buttles. He buttles. He's got a book and he buttles. So that's him.
He's a book butler.
We're really scrutinizing Olive's cute little old neighbor and not Horace.
I'm perfectly willing to scrutinize both, in fact.
To that. We're getting there.
It is the impact of that fateful liqueur that I believe kicks off really the well, Horace, you've had a rough couple of days, more so than the rest of us somehow.
Well, that merely makes up for how much better I felt when we woke up back in the hospital. No.
It's only fair. Right. So yes, we identified a contradiction in the story that Ernst was feeding us about his son and the disappearance and the like. And oh yes, he mentioned, and perhaps this is a reason to trust him even less than I've been giving him a fair bit of benefit of the doubt. But apparently he has another person who is another survivor of a full, just under secret surveillance?
Which sounds very suspicious. I mean, if I were to kidnap somebody, not that I would also say that I just have them under surveillance. Just saying.
Noted. Yes, I don't think we dug into that very much at all, really. Well, I guess we'll have an opportunity when we get there to be like, all right, several questions, Cartwright. But we finished our dinner, we wrapped up, and we repaired back to my suite upstairs for the three of you, Tommy, Olive, and Horace, to, well, drink this liquid. I did not partake because, well, it's my suite. I'm gonna have to answer to the cleaning crew, so I needed to keep an eye on things. And you all were fairly dodgy about what it was that happened when you drank the liquid. What? Could you give me just a little bit more information about what it was that happened? Because from my perspective, you all shot some amount of the liquid and then just laid down and slept for 8 hours, which was very boring but quite peaceful for me.
We all, well, I think from what we talked about afterwards, we all saw snippets of some of the things that had happened at the Black Rabbit. For example, I saw myself getting up and really needing to stab someone to stop them doing a ritual, which would explain why I was covered in blood.
Before we move on from that, could you describe at all the accoutrement for the ritual? Were they in costume? Were they holding anything? What?
They were wearing some of those robes that we saw at the house that we're going to talk about in a minute. And I think we'd seen those robes somewhere else as well.
Wait, what did these robes look like?
There's just some kind of cultish robes with like a mask that some of them have been wearing.
Were they white?
I think so, yeah.
Mary was wearing that robe.
She was.
They were part of the performance that we were all there to see.
They were also part of the ritual.
Perhaps the ritual was the performance.
I think so.
Thank you for the aside. So you felt compelled to do violence to stop this ritual.
I think something had already happened, and that's, I kind of like, from the memory, something had already happened, I needed to stop it, and I took out my knife. I don't think I stopped it.
Olive, Horace, does that about what happened to you? You saw this ritual happening?
Yes, the ritual was being performed. Tommy attempted to interrupt it, as did you, Professor. Hence where the bullet's missing from your gun.
You saw me in your memories.
Indeed, we were all there. And if I remember correctly, as Thomas tried to stab one of the performers, you were firing at them. Then when that proved ineffective, we all fled. Olive smartly detonating the Black Rabbit on our exit. Or at least...
Yeah, I didn't know I had it in me, but, you know.
Detonating?
Yes, with a bottle of alcohol and a rag set afire.
Oh.
You burned down the building.
We began that process.
I mean, to be fair, Professor, I think we'd be hard-pressed to prove that anybody burned that building down.
Well, of course. That does explain the evidence of fire when we were found in Central Park, however.
Indeed,
But-
indeed.
By evidence of fire, do you mean our own burned skin?
Among other things, yes. And
After-
that... I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Young.
Yes. After escaping in this very car, we were compelled to drive just simply away. Each of us, I believe, experiencing some form of memory that compelled us to panic. Especially you, Thomas. At which point, there was a figure, mostly humanoid, that Olive tangled with and put in delicate condition, which I hesitate to say, but can only assume is the police officer that is now in hospital.
Whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. I didn't believe, throw my knuckles at some police officer. I'm pretty sure, in my memories, I was beating up some. What do we call them? Pilot fish or something. I don't know. It was something really cool.
You did just say mostly human, which I'm not sure that I understand, Mr. Young.
It was a
human.
figure.
It was a human silhouette, a shadow given full form.
It was a dog shape, okay?
That may either be its form, or simply that we were, as we now know, partially enfolded, and that our perception of things outside of it was interrupted somehow.
So,
This was at the park?
Central Park?
This was in Central Park, yes, where it is alleged by Detective McCowan, Olive was seen dismantling of a police officer's face.
You can't prove nothing on that, so that's just speculation.
Of course, everything I say is speculation at this point. Neither you nor I can trust anything I say.
Yeah.
Noted.
It's a fun
Right.
discovery to make together. At that point, while you all were occupied with your pursuits, I turned around and I saw Leviathan, a creature larger than reality itself, breaking through, passing by, leaving explosions in its wake, leaving behind the pilot fish. I can only assume the worms. And taking the black rabbits and most of the surrounding area with it.
You saw this occur. You saw the black rabbit and the surrounding area somehow disappear with your own eyes.
In a manner of speaking. I saw a fold take place, and the black rabbit was taken in that fold. We were too far away at that point to truly watch the block disappear. But such an assumption is reasonable, no?
And that's where the vision ended for you and for everyone, was at the conclusion of the fold, at seeing the thing in the sky and the fold happening.
Yes.
Well, then, around the end of that must have been the morning after, where I had called down to the front desk and asked that they bring up some sustenance for us. I figured that if alcohol gives some kind of hangover, this sort of stuff might give something pretty heavy. You all woke up around the time that breakfast was coming in, and we were tucking in when Figaro, a man named Figaro, called up to us that he was trying to come see us, which really threw us all for a loop. We didn't really connect any dots to the name, but we're, well, all right, come on up. We tuck in to some food, and then Eventually, a soft knocking at the door, when answered, yields a man wrapped in bandages. The other John Doe, who remained unconscious in the hospital when we woke up the whole time. He gave his name as Figaro Bortadella, and he was badly, badly burned. I'm not going to lay this one also at your feet, Olive, but there was fire mentioned relatedly to you.
Okay, to counter your point, one, the front desk calling us to say somebody's here to see you, that was kind of poor taste on them. I'm just now realizing that.
Oh my goodness,
Second,
yes, that was quite
How rude.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I have an explanation for that, actually. Because we saw that thing in the sky the night we took the drink that helped us remember. But we haven't talked about a fold from that night. If that thing appears in the sky, we saw that night at the hotel, but we don't know what the fold was that night.
I believe it may have been Mr. Douglas Scott, my client.
Ah.
The sixth fold.
Cartwright said that each successive fold is bigger. So, well, it's too late for us to dig into that now, but perhaps after we've talked to Cartwright, it might be worth trying to figure out if the neighborhood that your client lives in if his apartment building's still there, that sort of thing.
I don't believe we would necessarily know. As we were not a part of this fold, we wouldn't necessarily remember that it was gone.
That's true.
Does bigger also mean longer? Because if you recall, I saw something from the window when I arrived back at your hotel later that morning as well.
Indeed.
Was it there for 12 hours or some immense amount of time?
We only saw the last after images of it that morning. Perhaps it simply takes time to leave.
Well, you do seem to be the expert on these matters, Mr. Young, so I may have to defer to you.
Possibly.
The arrival.
Did I understand correctly? I'm sorry. Did I understand correctly that Olive is responsible for that poor man's...
No, I was explicitly... No, listen, Olive, I'm not saying that.
Well, let me
Burned
follow
off?
up with my second point. I
I'm
remember when
saying
I
that.
drank the juice that I actually saved all of y'all. I pulled you out of that building to make sure you were okay.
No one is disputing
And I
that.
also remember finding a lot of money.
And was that before or after you set the building on fire?
Memory's not so clear on that one, Professor.
Of course not.
It would have been difficult to find the money in the building after we had left it and after it was on fire.
I was more concerned about whether she rescued us before or after setting the building on fire.
Oh, whether she
kidding.
was
I don't
rescued.
Before.
Yeah, no, I don't remember finding money. I just need to come clean to you guys. I actually woke up with a lot of cash way back in the hospital.
Did you?
And you've been
Yeah.
making me pay for things this whole time!
And you
Yeah.
didn't cut me in?
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad about it, but now that we've, been through so much, I think it's finally time for me to come clean. I'm rich.
Congratulations.
You have no idea where this
Thank you.
money came from.
Listen, when you find a pocket full of cash, it's better not to question these things.
Is it?
Well, generally, yes.
Yes.
That's
In-
just...
Yes.
yes, that's
in
my
these
money pocket.
circumstances, is it a good idea to be failing to question anything out of the ordinary?
Olive, do you still have the money?
Is this a trick question?
I
What
don't
if the
know.
money has worms in it?
No, I've used that money actually a little bit since the hospital is
You've
worm
been
free.
spreading these worms to others?
There's no worms.
Are you certain it's bills and not worms?
Oh my! I'm gonna pull out my
If you turn them
pile
sideways, do
of
they look more like worms?
money.
Looks
It's
like
this.
money.
Okay, all right. Yes, that's money. That's folding
Money.
currency.
Yeah.
And Raymond will reach back and peel off a little.
Nope. Don't worry about it. I'll pay for the next one, Raymond. So
All
we're
right,
even.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yes.
Raymond
I
is
have a
just
thought.
cataloging the most expensive restaurants he can think
I
of.
say, oh, she has no idea.
I think perhaps, Olive, that the good Lord has used you to bless those of us who have been put in this dark situation by putting a bit of a miracle in your pocket,
Yeah, in my pocket.
so that you may care for those who are your companions in this trying time. What a wonderful opportunity for you.
Congratulations.
If envy was a feeling that I should feel, I would be feeling it now.
Is this what it's like to be honest with people that are supposed to be your friends? 'Cause
It
I
gets
don't like
better.
it.
It gets better, Olive,
No,
I promise.
I don't feel so good. Tommy, hand over some of your medicine. I don't feel good.
The more sinister possibility is that Edmund put the money in your pocket and you simply don't remember, but perhaps you have a connection to him that we're unaware of.
Indeed, indeed.
Still avoiding Horace in the entire conversation.
We'll get to that later.
It's about that.
No one's allowed to be suspicious of Horace yet.
It's a Figaro arriving at my suite really threw us for a loop. We didn't quite know how to deal with him at the time, so we asked him very politely, after talking to him a little bit, if he would go into a side room and listen to a recording or some music or something while we kind of connected, discussed what best plan of action was to be about him. And Professor, that's about when you got back to us from your night vigil, watching over.
Yes.
And we talked for a while and decided. Well, yes, we came to the resolution that we had something of an obligation to do what we could to prevent the next fold, if possible. And we invited Figaro to join us in that, and you were really rude to him very briefly, Professor.
I was. I'm very regretful of that moment in time.
I'm sure you can send him an apology or something later, soothe your conscience. And then
I got news. I got news.
Do we have news?
We hit the points. There's no cursing. The points thing happened.
Oh
What?
my goodness!
Wait, what?
We're not
We got
allowed.
1,000 little point bibs, and the thing said no cursing on there.
Where?
Who?
Where is this?
Somebody
Somebody
that.
used points?
Oh no,
What an
you
unfair episode to put
No.
this on.
Where? No.
you have to
So that-
redeem them.
Right,
Oh, it hasn't been
that
redeemed.
pops-
Oh,
that pops
Yeah,
up
yeah.
that you can do that.
Ah.
That you have an
Which-
opportunity to do that.
Okay.
For the folks watching, there are channel points, and you can redeem them for all sorts of ridiculous, silly stuff. Or to really help us out with giving us, what was it, sanity? We get sanity rolls. So, if you have somebody who you feel sorry for, like maybe somebody named Horace, you can spend some luck so they can get a little bit of their sanity back.
We don't
Raymond could
have,
really
looking
use
at
a
the
top up.
options, the rewards that are available, I don't see one specifically for sanity, so how would
I think
they
it's.
I think that's
It's I'm not afraid. I'm not
Yeah,
afraid.
I'm not afraid.
They all
Okay.
have. If you look at them, like if you click on them, they all have a description of what they are. I think.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Keep it family friendly for 10 minutes. I see.
Cool.
I could give myself. What's that? Almost 4d3 sanity.
That's cheating.
I have a bunch of channel points I've just built up, but I'm not going to do that. Someone else could do that though. If someone else, if
what does
someone
that
else
cost?
could do that. It's five.
Sanity?
It's
5,000
Oh, holy cow.
5,000
Okay.
per D3.
per D3.
So,
Chat,
okay.
please start putting
Sorry.
them in those points in your pockets. We're gonna need them.
Sorry,
Just
old
like
man.
this.
Whoa!
Somebody, whoa, who could have
Whoa!
redeemed that? Oh my gosh!
I'm looking
thank
forward
you
to being
so
able
much.
to force one of you to method act for 10 minutes.
I love that one.
No, you have to save it for Wednesday and make it me.
Ah, okay.
So that
Well, it says you
I
can't
can
use
only
it on
do
the
anything
DMer
with
keeper.
character. Oh, it does. Who said
Yeah,
that?
it says
I'll
excluding
edit
the
that.
DMer keeper.
Dumb.
Someone,
I
someone
give
did their
someone.
fine
I
print
give
properly.
someone carte blanche to do that. Why did I say that?
Yeah. Who is it? Is it you that needs
Who
sanity,
gave us I'm Not Afraid?
or is it Horace?
Kendra.
Kendra?
Kendra
A
did it.
user by the name of Kendra's Lost. Thank you so much for the channel
If-
points.
I hope you find your way.
Anybody needs it more, it's Horace.
It was given to Horace.
How do you roll a D3? Why do you roll?
You
a
just do
D3?
/R1D3.
That's the nice thing about random number generation on a computer.
Yeah, I guess you don't
Or
have
it's
to.
a
It's a-
D6
it's a-
divided by 2 round up.
It's a 1. I deserve that.
Let me. Oh God, I gotta hide the thing. Yeah, here we go. Oh,
Oh,
nope.
okay.
Oh God, no.
Wow, we really managed to derail, didn't we?
really
Sorry.
thoroughly.
Old man Tyler got a thing, and it was like, what is this? What is the point doing the things?
Organic marketing. That's
Yeah.
what that was.
And we were worried we weren't going to have enough content.
I was gonna say
Listen, y'all put me.
we're an hour and a half in and we're to session 4.
It's like, Kyle, I don't want to put you in front of anything, but could you do some talking? I'm like, yeah, okay. And we bring back the little map we got, hiding the. Congratulations on the point of sanity, Horace. You're looking better already.
It might be the deal breaker whether he
might.
has that point or not.
And we
Well,
decide.
surely you guys don't think I'm gonna lose any more.
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. Only the mandatory stuff. We decide to invite Figaro to join us. For some reason, he decides that following a bunch of people that he doesn't really know into danger. I forget exactly why. With extreme burns all over his body, including ones that have removed his ability to see, was a bad idea. Which, frankly, I agree with him.
I also, as you said, wasn't kind to him, and
That's-
that may have
that's true.
impacted his decision.
May have been a fact. Again, I didn't want to lay that at your feet directly, Professor.
I take responsibility for
But
it.
you may have saved his life, in a way. So I
True.
wouldn't call it all bad.
There.
Okay, so when the professor is mean to blind guys, right?
Yes.
But I beat up like.
Why is he
hypothetically,
blind?
A cop or two. How maybe I saved his life by making him blind.
Well, you
so,
certainly saved his life and all
Which
of
is
our
alleged.
lives by
Yeah, you're
tracking us. All of you really have to
Saved
watch
his
out at
mind,
these
baby.
things.
yeah. Now he doesn't have to see what's going on with this guy. So
You know, that is a disconcerting factor. That him losing his sight may have contributed to him being able to remember and stay sane. That's-
Honestly, I think that's best not to dwell.
Yes,
I think
we decide that we're going to investigate a set of keys that Horace had acquired with his belongings from the
And
precinct.
how had he acquired them?
They were just in his pocket when
They
the
were
cops
just there.
picked
Yes,
us up.
Indeed, they were just there. We have no way of knowing.
Well, we had no way of knowing, Mr.
No,
Young.
have
no
I
way.
believe is the operative. Yes. No. But what he said
We're
was
all
have.
remembering
Have.
events
I-
at this point, Mr. Young. We've all been through the entire story up to here. We all know how it ends.
Pretend for a moment that I don't. Tommy,
Yes, that is a good world to live in. Let us all just dwell there. How far is it to the one Conrads?
perhaps more hours. I'm not sure.
Yes, we dwell on it. We live in that world for about that much time.
If it makes you feel better, Mr. Young, I'm gonna ride my high horse all the way to the key place where I then found out some information I didn't share with all of you.
Oh yes, and what was that?
wait, even me?
No, you know.
Oh yeah, no, okay.
You were there.
Wait, you knew it was Edmund's apartment before we went there?
Oh no, but I have his bank key. I'm pretty drugged up at this point. I'm gonna tell you guys. This is his bank key.
Oh,
Oh,
you know, that does look like a safe deposit box key. Huh.
How do you know that it belongs to him?
I was going to say is
ring.
That was on his house keys, right?
I'm sorry.
It's speculation.
This is another key that Mr. Young procured.
it was with the other key. Yes.
So, the young, wealthy sociopath not only gave you the keys to his apartment, he also gave you the keys to a private security box inside his bank.
No. At no point in my recollection did he give me the bank key.
You just have it.
I just have it.
So it could
As
be
well
unrelated.
as
Assuming I'm
Swiss
not about
cheese for memory.
assuming I'm not about to have another flashback.
Yes, quite. Quite.
It's entirely possible that we are making a jump there, in that the fact that Horace was in possession of those two keys together doesn't mean that the keys themselves are related. They are distinctly different to different things. And one is older. Good catch, Professor. That might be speculation on our part. We don't know that for certain.
Yeah, but it's probably right.
We don't have any way to know that.
I'm pretty
We
confident.
could go look
in
at
this
the
theory.
safety deposit box.
Do we
And
know
we
which
do you
bank it
know
belongs
to which
to?
bank it belongs?
Bit of a needle
Or
in a
to-
haystack.
Or who at the bank to tell is there to see their box? Or do we simply walk in and say, we have a key?
Maybe we could try and inquire subtly from his father.
Horace, that is a little bit how it works, actually. When I go to access my safe deposit box, I walk in and say I'd like to access the safe deposit box for which I have this key, and they go, ah, yes, Dr. Fox, right this way, here's your coffee, how are you?
But they
Okay,
know
this-
who you are. We
this
do
is
not
why I didn't
know
tell you
to whom
about
the
the
bank
money.
would associate this key.
Right. So Olive admits she doesn't know where she got the money, and her and Mr. Young both have some strange financial connection to some mysterious
Who's to
situation,
say-
circumstance.
I didn't earn that money.
You didn't
Working
earn
at
that
the
money.
Black
I'm
Rabbit.
saying it.
That is all. That's
Well,
possible.
I'm gonna
That's
say
very
that-
possible.
Those keys are definitely belonging to Edmund. So there
Yes,
you go.
we know one of them to be. I recall, in fact, he gave
And he
me,
gave them to
giving
you.
me one of the keys. Yes.
Probably both, though. That's what I'm saying. If you're
Not
gonna infer I
necessarily.
didn't make that money, I'm gonna infer he gave you the key to his safety deposit box.
That's a reasonable
Which is what
inference.
friends do. Yeah.
Professor, to be entirely fair, the money that Olive found in her pocket the morning that we woke up with little to no memory, it could have just been my money that she put in her pocket.
So you're
Okay.
saying that before
No,
you
I'm not
Discounting
saying
all
He
the
may
people
have
Olive could have
pickpocketed
robbed throughout the last 24
that
to
list
48
is
hours.
too long.
I do
I
find
don't-
it difficult to believe that you earned what was that looked like it could be more than $300.
It's $35
Oh.
counted.
Oh, it's the. Never mind.
Seemed like
I
a
don't carry
larger
small
number
bills.
of bills to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, no,
I-
it's definitely only $35.
Strange.
Yeah, so strange.
How many of you have taken the opium?
The three of them. You and I have.
I offered the drink to the professor.
No, thank you.
How are you doing, Tommy? Do we need to pull over? Do you need a refill?
No, real good. We're
All
doing
right.
great. This is really helping. I
Good.
assumed you've all had some at this point.
Not me. I'm driving.
No, thank you, sir.
Well, you especially. You need to calm your nerves.
Listen. I'm writing in a notebook while I'm driving. I don't need a third distraction.
Quite right.
And imagine if we crashed while I was holding this glass jar of this parasite.
That would be
Oh,
quite
put
bad,
the
I
llama
think.
away, Tommy. Oh my god.
Where do you want me to put it? What am I supposed to do?
I-
You want
I-
to
I
let it
don't
roll
wanna
around
see
on the
it.
floor?
I will take. I'll take it. The cats can play with the jar.
No, absolutely
I don't want that near the
not.
cat.
Listen. Give me the jar, Tommy. Give me the jar. Thank you. And Raymond's
Who's
going
steering
to.
the car?
I've got the other hand on the wheel. It's fine. And Raymond's gonna put it in the glove box and shut it and lock it. There.
One hand on the notebook, one hand on the jar,
One hand on the jar,
on the wheel.
steering with my
Wait,
knees.
He just asked Herbert to steer
Hold the
momentarily.
wheel for a moment.
I've never driven before. I don't know how to do this.
You're doing great. You're doing fantastic. No,
My hands are shaking.
there you go. All right. Yes. Worm is locked away safely.
We're
Steers into
Manhattan's
the
only
lane
hope.
over.
In addition to visiting the locksmith and learning something about the keys, either before or after that, some of us, maybe simultaneously, I forget exactly, we visit the Little Red Bookstore and accidentally join the Communist Party?
Oh, is that what happened?
Something about it.
Accidentally.
Oh. Well, something about... well, we pay something in the way of bribes to get our hands on information and a single chapter of this book that Edmund did the performance from, and I think, judging from some of the other things we've learned in the vision and so forth, also where this play that was performed in the cabaret came from. We couldn't get our hands on a copy of the book in its entirety. We could just get chapter 7. Which the person who had purchased it, again, Edmund, we learned from the Little Red Bookstore, wasn't going to need it for a little while. So we thought to ourselves, yes, we'll take it and not give it back. Perhaps to try and throw a wrench in whatever his plan was. We thought that there was some sort of connection between the 7th chapter not yet being needed immediately, but being needed somewhat soon, to the fact that the folding of the cabaret was the 5th fold that Cartwright had noticed, and, well, that's numerically close to 7. One more fold would put us at 6, and then needing it for the 7th. Perhaps the folds correspond to vignettes or chapters of the book as it develops. Something I realized we forgot to ask was if the purveyor of rare books and communist propaganda knew off the top of his head how many chapters in total were in the book.
That's a very good point.
So we don't quite know what percentage of the way through we've made it.
Yeah,
Regardless,
why aren't we just burning these chapters so that no one can ever, invoke?
well, the subject matter was of some interest to the professor and Horace. You two then retired to read it. Is that right?
Well,
Precisely.
yes, after we all returned to Mr. Cole's apartment. And, Olive, I'm quite shocked that you would suggest the destruction of any of literature or the written word, or even science. This is how humanity records knowledge, and knowledge is not in and of itself good or evil. It is just knowledge.
This
Yep.
is a document that allows people to, break the universe, and you kept it because it had some neat formulas on it.
But perhaps
It's a little
it allows
selfish.
people who understand it more fully to do more. A fire can burn a man's eyes from his head, but it can also provide warmth and keep someone from dying in the coldness of winter.
Yeah, and that chapter can, be a fun math formula, or it could burn all of New York City down.
We have also gleaned from reading this passage, myself and the professor, how to detect when one of these folds is occurring.
Yeah, so the
Exactly.
knowledge
Because-
is here, right?
It has already provided us. Well, we would have to reference it for
And
the
I think there's
specifics.
quite a bit more that we could understand with more study as well.
Perhaps we could even reverse them with the rest of the book.
That is the
Quite
actual
right.
goal, right? Is understanding enough of what's going on to undo the folds.
Of
Or
course.
at least stop it.
I'm aiming to stop. I might be shooting low there, but I'm just aiming for stop.
Regardless, the more we find out about these folds, the better a position that puts us in when we confront Edmund.
Quite right. And if I remember correctly, this Senior von Cartwright is meant to have a complete copy of the book, is he not?
I don't believe so. I think that the copy that he acquired went to his son,
Let's see.
leading to his son's initial disappearance. Taking the book with him, presumably. Though we didn't ask, really, I don't think.
Forgive me, this is a intrusive thought. Have we considered that perhaps the man going around calling himself Edmund von Cartwright is not perhaps the same man that Ernst calls his son?
I'm not sure I understand, Mr. Young.
I think that we had assumed.
Yes, of course, but listen. If Ernst von Cartwright gave his son a full copy of the book, why is Edmund now attempting to get it chapter by chapter?
Ah,
That's a very good question.
but perhaps he wasn't
surely-
able to get his
surely-
father's copy.
Surely, if Ernst, as such a rich man, were to be searching for his son, how difficult would it? We found him with very little effort whatsoever. How is it that over the last months, Ernst has been unable to find his son, who is just living across the city?
Wait, okay. Raymond, your friend sent you a telegram from the future, right?
Yes.
Okay, so time isn't a thing and thing isn't a time. So what if he lost the book and he's
I don't-
stuck somewhere in the time and he's trying to find his way back by getting it chapter by chapter where he knows it could have been found?
So he used the book, got lost in a time,
Yes.
and lost the
yes.
book, which was then
Yes.
cut apart by
By
the
folds,
scum
they
of
just
the earth.
Cut books now.
And then now he is trying to reacquire it to some end, bring himself back, acquire
Yes.
some goal.
Yes.
That could be a possibility. Hold on. If time isn't a thing, and also thing isn't a time,
Who said that? I don't believe we ever settled on that as
I
the
think we're
prevailing
settled on that.
mechanics at work.
No, they definitely work.
there's something about time. Tabitha sent me a telegram 2 weeks from now that I got 2 days ago.
Time.
But if time is, if the corners aren't quite tacked down as firmly as we think or has seemed previously, and this is kind of a disconcerting thought here, how do we know that Edmund and Ernst are not the same person?
Oh my.
We don't.
We simply don't.
Now,
He could
in
very
what?
well be driving into the lion's den.
It
Gonna
might
reach
just be the
over.
drugs, but I actually thought we were from the start. I've been very mistrustful of this man, and I don't think he's working against Edmund at the very least. I think he's working with Edmund, and I think we're a bit more important than he's letting on.
Which of them?
Yes.
Both. Apparently the same.
Possibly. I'm not saying they are.
But Edmund, I know I'm skipping a bit ahead in the timeline here, but I met him after the insanity that occurred at the apartment.
You did?
I did. But it's important that we keep
Yes.
this record in order for
In order.
our own sake, most especially if time is not, as you say, pinned down at the corners. So what was it that happened next?
At that point, we went to Edmund's apartment. We had the keys. We had learned the address from the Little Red Bookshop. They had records of the transaction, and the same address from the locksmith. So we connected dots and said, well, the person who bought the books, the person whose keys these are, both named Edmund, both live in this place. Let's go there. So we went to his apartment and went inside and discovered several disconcerting things. There were easels set up with nothing on them, and just a terrible personal library. There was not very much of interest. I did collect a couple of interesting things that I do plan on reading tonight with perhaps a cup of tea. But really, I'm kind of putting off the fact that we discovered a secret chamber behind a bookshelf.
Yes, that was after Olive, for some reason I still can't comprehend, let that bird into the room.
Well, the bird had interesting
What
things
were
to
you
say.
thinking, Olive?
Oh, we all agreed we wanted the bird to come inside. Why is it attack Olive Night? I feel like I've been nothing but...
No, I'm with you, Olive.
Nothing?
Letting the bird in seemed like a good idea at the time. It seemed
Yeah.
it was making eye contact with us. It was engaging.
Yeah. And all the birds were gone. That's why I let it in, because I was
Right,
like, oh, I found
yes.
one bird left in New York City. And I was like, I gotta talk to this bird, because me and pigeons, like this.
I don't want to alarm you, but didn't you guys say that Magellan, rest his soul, wasn't he talking to seagulls as well?
Yes.
There was one very calm seagull standing on the ledge with him.
So, all I'm saying is, a bit weird that you talk to birds, actually, Olive, in retrospect.
This
Well,
car ride
it's
is
not
why...
as though the bird said anything to her. Not
Yeah,
directly.
it didn't say anything.
What did it do instead, though?
Can I get my worm back, please?
Yes, here you are. And Raven will... Hey, Horace, hold the wheel. Reach up. And he'll... Hey, there's your jar of worm. Now keep that shut. Thank you.
Well, it coughed up one of these, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
So, these things are controlling stuff.
They're in there somewhere.
Because it kind of behaved differently after it coughed this up. Well, not this one. I got this one.
Later.
Here's one worm I prepared earlier.
We disposed of that worm in spectacular fashion, didn't we?
Turns out they're really flammable.
Yeah.
Yes, with the match.
Yes, it went like kablam.
It almost exploded like a small bit of TNT.
Very energetic. And then
So it's okay for you guys to burn suspicious worms, but if I burn one little
building
culty
and
speakeasy
man.
bar to save everybody, then I'm the bad guy. Okay, I
Listen.
see what the priorities are.
I opened up. I'm not laying the damage at your feet. In fact, what damage?
The next
to-
part of the
to-
story,
to-
though,
To
is you getting one of these worms on you, which, in
Yes.
future we cannot burn them.
Or shoot them. I look at the professor.
Or
Yes, that was
shoot
perhaps
them.
something of an overreaction, Professor.
You're welcome.
was it an overreaction?
Well, it did. It did.
It got rid of the worm.
It
That's
somewhat
true.
truncated the timeline we were operating on.
It was
The worm was in the
draining the life and perhaps even the history from our young woman.
Indeed, it was rather truncating her.
That is
Quite.
true. But can we all just be in agreement that next time we shoot guns at each other, because that's what friends do now, we immediately vacate the premises because the coppers are on the way?
I think part of the
Or
problem
could we
there.
not shoot the guns? Because
Yes.
we had a lot to explore there, which we just didn't.
Well, I'm gonna go back on what I said earlier. The professor was right for shooting that worm because he's right. I got, this. I'm a professional, boxing, it's my hobby, it's my thing, and now my left arm's a little bit weaker than my right arm, and that just won't do, so.
And how much worse might it have been if we'd done nothing?
Exactly.
All
I'm with
right.
you, but just
All
next
right,
time.
if you're in agreement,
we
then
run.
yes. I do want to flag one thing. Friends don't shoot guns at each other.
Quite right.
Thank you.
Nor did I that night.
Yes.
What do we consider at each other? Because if I recall, the worm was on my shoulder and the gun was shot towards
Past
me,
you.
which could also be known as at me.
After I bundled up
Semantics.
my coat and placed it against your ear to ensure you did not suffer any kind of injury to your hearing, if you recall.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to flag was it was perhaps not necessarily every time we fire guns in general we need to immediately vacate the premises. I think that the fact that it was student housing we were visiting and shooting guns in that really caused the attention to be drawn to us.
Yeah, see, if I recall correctly of my time of being a human in this world, anytime a gun goes off, people usually, call for help or come to see what's happening, so...
That is a
That-
fair
that's
point.
yes. You're right. You're right.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this one.
Yes. So, we deal with the worm that got on Olive, and rummage around the bookshelf, and then
We
Horace-
found another.
Yes, we found another bookshelf in the bedroom, and
No,
Horace.
another worm.
Oh, in another book.
Yes, in one of the books.
That one, the one that Tommy has now.
This one.
Yes, that one.
Yes, that one. Put it away.
It's just gonna be full of worms now, Tommy. What is with this? Is nobody panicking that this kid is just walking around with worms?
The jar is
It's
sealed.
one worm.
Just the
Tommy,
one
show me
worm.
the jar. It's still sealed, right? And Raven, I'm just gonna...
It's still one worm, right?
I realize
Perhaps at some point we should slice it in half to see if it will, as worms do, regrow from
That is a
the
horrible
individual
idea.
piece.
Do we want
Well, at
two
worst, we
worms?
only have 2 worms.
And
We only
at
have
best,
one worm.
we have no worms.
At worst, one of us becomes infected by the worm.
I
Actually,
Also that.
I don't plan on consuming the worm once I cut it.
Tommy, may I have the jar back, please?
No, I really want to hold on to it now. I think everyone has bad ideas about the worm.
Oh, but we're overlooking the fact that this worm could be a weapon of ours. Somebody, is acting up in our life. We just unscrew it, throw the worm.
oh dear God.
And unwrite them from existence?
Oh dear
Yes.
God.
I have a couple of people I'm already thinking about, so.
This is
But
in
that's
a
personal
situation in
stuff.
which burning down the building they live in is not an effective way to get rid of them. Is that the case, Olive?
Also,
Why are you
that-
treating me like a bad guy? Like, we're about to go to the, evil man.
Right. It
to
might
be
be
not
Cartwright
evil
that we need
man.
to use this on.
Yeah, if
That's your
he's
point here.
really evil, unscrew the jar, throw the worm.
Why
Nobody
bother
knows any
with screw-
better.
ends
Just
at
throw
that
it.
though. I think then there's just those worms out in that community. Like we just release a bioweapon just to take out one person and take out half of New York.
I mean,
What if we do that and then we burn the house down?
They are very flammable.
Horace
It
gets
would-
it.
That would ensure that he is dead.
Mhm.
I am sorry, Professor. That's a flight of fancy. I am sure you do not appreciate it.
You do all understand that murder is fundamentally wrong, do you not?
Yes.
Obviously,
it's not
none of us
murder
are murderers.
if it's self-defense.
Weren't you a soldier?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I was a soldier, and fighting in a war is not the same thing as plotting the murder of someone as you drive to their home.
Professor, we're in a war right now.
As a child who has never
Allegedly, this
seen the
person
horrors
is
of
planning
war,
to kill
I
people.
will forgive that statement, and I'm sure that Mr. Cole will as well. Will you not, Tommy?
The thing in the sky that's taking birds and people, that's not a great enemy we need to go to war with? Okay,
Entirely
fine.
not.
I'm the crazy one.
It doesn't.
No,
even care about that.
hold on. Let's get to the next part in the story, which is we went into the next room, and the person's whose house we're driving to's son had murdered someone.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, he was still alive. No.
I think that's debatable.
I saw his heartbeat once.
That's not enough.
That's really
May
not
be
enough.
correct.
Twice.
The point is that we saw that, and then this becomes fighting, in a way at least.
And then
War.
And then the police showed up. And Olive, you went downstairs to valiantly make a distraction for us as we all trundled out the fire escape to try and make our way down to the ground without being perceived by them. You were fairly effective at distracting one of them, but the rest of them went into the apartment, made their way up.
I think it's important to focus on the body for a minute longer.
Oh, go ahead. I'd rather not, Mull.
It was horrifying, and I know that poor Raymond really suffered the moment that we discovered it, but you, Tommy, you seemed almost fascinated by it. You went right into the room. I don't understand.
Well, you said you said you thought he was still alive, so I went to go check his pulse. But I sort
What
of
you were doing.
put my hand into it, like to touch him, and it just sort of went through. Felt cold.
It went through?
Yeah, like there was air on the other side, like snow or something. My hand just disappeared in front of me.
Like it was the body and the wall weren't there at all?
As if they weren't. I couldn't even see my hand as it went to touch them.
As if a juxtaposition of perception.
Maybe even time?
Would that have been a fold?
I suppose it could be, but if it were, it would have to be different from the one that we experienced. Wouldn't it?
It seems one Edmund had a bit more control over.
My God, is that what the boy meant?
We were leaving via the fire escape.
Yes.
Some of us more quickly than others.
And, well, Tommy, you took a bit of a tumble. I'm sure you remember. And fell
Yeah,
a
it really
couple of-
hurt at the time. It's kind of gone better now.
Glad you're doing better. That's good. And we... Professor, you gave me your gun and went up the stairs, up the opposite direction to buy us time.
Yes.
At which point, Horace and I kind of shuffled Tommy into my car and grabbed Olive along the way, and off we sped to
cool.
well, try and find a way to get medical attention for Tommy.
I want it on record that I saved Olive. Like, they were.
That's
they
true.
owe
I
me
had nothing
one.
to do with it.
How did you manage that, Mr. Cole, especially with your broken rib?
Oh, I just charged into him as if it wasn't broken. It actually worked pretty well.
Yeah, he mauled a police officer. Just laid him right out.
Face to the concrete.
I may have met that young officer, actually.
How's he doing?
He did not look well.
I saw the hit.
2 black eyes, a clearly broken nose. He wasn't putting his words together quite properly.
Nice, Tommy.
You could almost say it was comparable to falling from 3 stories.
Just
Other
about.
than that, he seemed like a rather polite and pleasant young Christian man.
But a cop.
Yes.
Until he became a cop.
That does lead me to my question, Professor, which is, after we sped away, the four of us, you got taken in by the police, right? What happened?
I did. Well, that detective that Olive is acquainted with. What was his name again?
McGowan.
Galligan.
McGowan.
That's it. Yes, he had questions for me about what we were doing there and the gunshot. And I answered them to the best of my ability. I didn't give him all of the information that I could have, but I wasn't going to lie to him. But the
Not even a little?
stranger part of it is that apparently Edmund was there in the precinct as well. And they had questioned him prior to questioning me. And stranger still, the younger von Cartwright apparently tried to make an excuse for us being there. Claimed that we were there for a gathering, a party, with him, that he was there with us, and that the discharge of my weapon was simply a mistake that occurred while I was attempting some kind of a trick, which I would never do with a firearm.
I was about to say, Professor, you've probably got to cut back on that. You're going to develop a reputation.
Yes. Well, I shall have to do something about that, but that's beside the point.
Horace covered for us.
The lad
Sorry,
was
Horace.
trying to cover for us.
Slip of the tongue. Edmund covered for us.
But did he cover for us, or did he try to use as an alibi whilst he was actively murdering someone?
Does this mean
well,
I'm
hold on,
not?
not actively. He had already done it.
But not quite. The heart was still beating, so the murder wasn't complete.
I suppose a passive murdering. I mean, Edmund was not himself present.
Professor, you had something of a revelation.
Yes. I'm not sure that's correct at this point, because something that Mr. Cole said a moment ago has aligned with something that Edmund said after I left the precinct. He walked up to me, and first of all, he thanked me and us. He did in fact say that our efforts in the room had ensured that the police did not notice the body. He also told the police officer, the detective, McGowan, that he specifically said, in the bedroom with us. And now I wonder if that doesn't mean he was on the other side of whatever it is that Tommy put his hand inside of.
So you've seen him. You know
Yes,
what he looks
he's
like.
not a savory-looking young man. He seemed ill, in fact, coughing quite a bit, unwashed, his hair oily and lanky. Quite an equiline sort of Roman face. Is that what his father looked like at all? Dark hair, equiline face.
No. Cartwright, he looked like something.
Is that what the
Cartwright's been
man that
folded. We
gave you
can't
all that
remember it.
money looked like, Olive?
Sorry, what?
Is that what the man that gave you all that money looked like?
No. Because I earned that money. We have already established that. Keep up, Professor.
I'm not sure that's been established. And you, Mr.
Yes.
Young, does my description match your recollection from this memory that you've had recently of meeting the young Van Cartwright?
Does it? Keeper?
Yes.
That sounds correct. Although he was not quite so unwashed at the time.
Did he seem ill?
Not to my recollection.
At the very least, I think we've seen the same person then. But he doesn't bear a resemblance to his supposed father?
The older Cartwright is, well, exactly that, an older Cartwright. I don't have details at the tip of my fingers, but gray hair slicked back, a face that gave the appearance of being used to getting his way, but not haughty about it. No, I don't think that they bear any resemblance beyond familial. We will, however, have an opportunity to test that assumption since you yourself have not seen the Elder Cartwright.
Quite right.
And will soon.
Yes. In any event, as I said, after thanking me and our group, sort of, on your behalf, he walked away. He simply walked away into the rain. It was pouring at the time, and, well, to be honest, I didn't want to let him out of my sight for fear of what he might try to do next, and so I followed him. And, well, I was following him east, and I lost track of him for just it must have been a moment, and then he was on the opposite side of the street, walking in the opposite direction. And so I made to cross the street and follow him, still at a distance. And, you know, the wind and the rain, it was quite a lot. And then, well, then I could swear there were two of him crossing each other's paths, and I think then perhaps a third.
What if you were seeing them at different times, but all at one time?
That is decidedly unsettling. And then I lost him, and determined that my only path forward at that point was to return to Mr. Cole's apartment where we all had last been together, with the assumption that you all would be waiting for me there. You were not, but I chose to wait. Where had you all gone?
We had...
We actually didn't want to go to any of our houses because we've just had a pretty serious run-in with the police, who know who we are and probably know where we live.
We were under the impression that we were still in something of a bit of hot water, but apparently,
of course,
if Edmund's covered for us, then I suppose that's not really true. What we did was we connected with, a friend of Olive's. She called in a favor of ours. Thank you, Olive, on Tommy's behalf, to find a back alley medical practitioner, somebody who could examine Tommy's injuries and perhaps provide, medicine. We did line one up back in Harlem and stopped for some painkillers along the way and took Tommy to get a checkup at the vets at Vickers Pets and Pet Food.
Which is also where we found this delight.
Yes.
Whose name we really should name you, shouldn't we?
I also didn't appreciate that you kept referring to me as a dog, even if that was code.
Could hear all that.
What would you have preferred? Just for future reference, for the next time we have to take you to a back alley doctor.
Like, I know we're all talking in code or whatever, but I'm semi-conscious. Like, I'm a human being.
Correct.
For now.
Which the doctor could easily see. It was merely a matter of discretion.
We apologize, Tommy.
Next time,
It was too
Tommy,
much
I'll walk into the vet and I will say, I got a human I need you to examine, okay? Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, no questions asked. Let's be upfront
Okay.
with what we're doing.
Okay, I'll do. You think I'm kidding? I'm gonna do that next time.
I mean, frankly,
there will be a next time.
I don't think
Vicar
Vicar
would
would
be
blink.
next time. I've only got so many more ribs.
Oh, you can always bruise and bang up the ones you've still got again.
They grow back, don't they?
Bruises heal. Something like that. And Vicar wouldn't bat an eye if we were to walk in and drop the whole code facade. They might just charge us a little bit more. At which point we tracked down you, Professor, and collected you, and, well, in some haste, piled into the car to head off to the Cartwright residence, which brings us, unless I'm forgetting something, up to where we are now, which is driving to Ernst von Cartwright's house in Manhattan, in the old money part of town. None of this nouveau riche nonsense like I hang out with in the evenings. Olive, you're looking at me funny. Why? What?
I somehow, when the window was open, when Horace opened it earlier, all my money flew out the window. So now I have no more money.
No,
Just so we're clear.
Olive. That's not what I meant. This is... Okay.
It really happened.
Listen, Olive, the next time you come upon some money, give it to me. I'll invest it for you.
Yeah. I'll definitely give you the money I find in my pocket next time. Don't worry.
Keeper, do I believe that she lost her money?
I was about to roll.
I don't believe it, whether it's true or not, but I'm accepting it.
I mean, you know, if you want to come up with specific tells, that's an opposed role of fast talk versus psychology. But whether or not you believe someone's lying is entirely up to your own deductions.
Fair enough.
What you can believe someone is lying and not have I have nothing to prove it.
Quite right.
Since we're asking Mr. Keeper questions, something
just-
that I learned, which
Yeah?
was I hold the worm up, and I sort of hold it next to my broken rib, where the worm apparently seems to go a bit more feral.
Oh, no, it just goes nuts, just trying to get you. Or
So-
whoever's nearest to it. It just goes after the nearest person.
Ah, because I was gonna see if it got more feral next to Olive's arm.
Wait, you're putting the jar near
It's in the jar.
me
It's in
again?
the jar. The jar is never opened. Never
Hi.
assume that.
It
Oh
doesn't. It does not appear to have a different response to either of Olive's arms. It's just the nearest person with a heartbeat. It appears.
It's just a hungry
Just-
little guy.
So we're clear. If anybody wanted to inquire if I actually lost all my money, I rolled an extreme success on that lie. So
Olive, that's not what I meant. I meant... okay, full disclosure. Yes, I am a reporter. You all know this. I've told you earlier. I'm not so very much of a real reporter just yet. I cover... Well...
wait, what? You been lying to us this whole time?
I write stories. I visit... Well...
I mean, I write stories.
Yes, but
mind.
mine go in the newspaper, Olive. Let me get through this.
But do they go in the newspaper?
Yes, they do. The Evening Gazette. I write about the nightlife. I write about speakeasies and, well, the beautiful and wealthy people of the city. So that's what I meant by the nouveau riche I hang out with. Not you, Olive. It's all right. I'm not judging you.
Wait, you were judging me?
No, explicitly not.
Wait a minute.
I was
were
afraid
judging
that
me
you
with
thought
those
that I
fancy words
was.
Of yours?
What?
Okay, I
You're
see
judging
you,
her, you're
Raymond.
judging me.
Yeah, you judging us, Raymond? After everything we've been through,
What have exactly we been through? Let's
we just
again from the top.
recapped this past 2 hours.
No, I'm not judging any of you. In fact, I respect each of you a lot more for not having the kind of frivolity in your lives that I see on a nightly basis.
I can be frivolity if I want to be.
Absolutely, I believe you, and there's a time and a place for
I felt very frivolous this week.
Yeah.
I bet you feel more frivolous than ever. Oh, see, now you got me doing it. More frivolous than ever, Tommy.
I feel rivolous. I could do with picking up some more of this juice.
All right.
I think you've had quite enough.
Yes, but what about after dinner?
Shouldn't we all be trying to keep ourselves at our sharpest as we enter the lion's den?
Professor, you and I can take care of being sharp, and everybody else, just be yourselves.
Noted.
Let's have that written down, and let's remember that during the "I told you" news later.
I am a notary.
Wait, what?
Never mind.
How
does
much
this guy
farther is it
do?
to this place?
Well, I suppose I should stop driving in just large circles, then, I suppose, and actually head in the direction of the Von Cartwright estate.
I thought you knew how to pilot this thing.
No, vaguely?
Raymond, if we make it out of this alive, can you let me drive your car one time?
Absolutely. It's already basically a complete write-off. Look, the headlight, it's all smashed up. I'm gonna have to buy a new one.
Ah, because that's not repairable in any way, is it?
Oh, you know what? That's a very good point. I'm gonna have to
I think
look
I've
into
definitely got a guy.
that. All right.
We could fix that up for you.
So I think that's a great spot to call it. There are some questions from the audience, but I have gotten word that the power is flickering upstairs.
Ah.
So I'm going to actually, unfortunately, have to bow out for fear of my computer electrifying me.
Understood.
So are the rest of you going to continue, or do you want me to do the outro? Does someone need the text for the outro?
Perhaps we'll save the question bucket for
Yeah.
another night.
I think
Yeah,
this is a
I
good
think
spot
that's
to
Good
end.
idea. It's a good pausing.
Phenomenal. In that case, thank you all again, Wandering Souls, for hanging out. Oh, we've been guided the raid. I got the thing. I got it. I see you, Stormblessed 470.
I did that time, yes.
Oh, look at that. Not spending it on sanity for yourself.
Okay.
No, I'm giving it to help out friends.
I'm gonna finish the bit. How about I finish the bit?
Yeah,
Finish
finish
the
the
bit.
bit. Finish the bit.
Finish the bit and I'll start the raid.
Thank you again to all you Wandering Souls. Apparently we're going raiding after this, so enjoy that. Our own Joel does Ravenloft campaigns as a professional dungeon master. He uses Syrinscape for sound effects, music, and all that wonderful jazz. You can find him at StartPlaying.Games/GM/leonidas-games. Drew and Kendra return tomorrow night for Doors and Deities every Wednesday at the same digital place, starting at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Also, you can return here for further Shadows and Mysteries, same place, same time next week. To keep updated and all that, you can check out our socials in the link tree, or you can hit the subscribe doodly boop below.
Please.
Also, we are so close to 100 followers, which is crazy awesome. Those numbers are going up really fast, and it's been super awesome how much y'all have been supporting us. we are adding another regular event to the stream, and it's gonna be a bit of a round table of us discussing role-playing, what's happening, doing recaps, doing discussions, kind of like what we did today, but a little bit more, less in character, more responding to questions and the issue du jour. So that's going to be, the first one is this Friday at 8 Eastern, I believe?
Yes, that is correct.
8 Eastern time. So we've got people from this table, we've got people from the Dwarves and Deities table, and they're going to hang out, answer questions, and swap war stories. Finally, as always, super big thanks to Syrinscape for providing music and sound effects, even though it was largely just a car and music this week. Often we use it for a lot more. I also apparently have a car horn that is currently stuck in the queue and it will not move through the queue because they didn't update. So at some point that's gonna go nuts. So I'm kind of hoping like next time we start and it just starts with like
Cartwright, let us in.
And again, on Kickstarter, I got a thing up there right now. I am a contributing writer to Graveyard of the Gods. It is kind of like other fantasy meets airships meets going between awesome, crazy places. Can back that? That'd be awesome. I get paid I get paid the same amount either way. So go back it. Get some awesome resources for your 5e stuff. I think that is everything. Thank you again so much, everybody. Come back next week for whoa.
Did we
I
forget
don't know if
something?
Kendra's getting whoa.
No. I'm
that's
whoa
something else.
whoaing.
Kendra.
Yeah, people in the chat.
There's
no
banter
whoa to you.
happening.
Oh, okay.
Great. Yeah.
Awesome. Enjoy the raid, and we'll see you all next time.
Jazz hands.